She was 7 months pregnant when it happened. A hospital parking garage, two women, one brutal shove, and security camera members that mysteriously disappeared the next day. But this isn't just a story about a woman who was attacked by her billionaire husband's family. This is about what happens when you're too poor to matter, too broken to fight back, and too stubborn to stay silent. Because Grace Holland learned something the hard way: the rich don't play fair. They don't lose gracefully. And they definitely don't expect you to survive. But survive she did. And what came next? Let's just say the Callaway Emily never saw it coming. This is the heiress who broke me. And I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll never look at justice the same way again. The security camera footage shows everything in grainy black and white. A pregnant woman on the hospital parking garage floor, blood pooling beneath her. A tall woman in designer heels standing over her, phone aimed down like a weapon. And in the doorway, a man frozen between two worlds. What the hell did you do? Marcus Calloway's voice echoes off concrete. His sister Vanessa doesn't look up from her phone. Still filming, still calculating. What I had to. But that's not where this story begins. To understand how we got here, how a woman 7 months pregnant ended up bleeding on cold marble while her husband watched, you have to go back 72 hours. Back to when Grace Holland still believed in love, still believed in justice, still believed her husband would choose her. Back to when she still had hope. 72 hours earlier, the Callaway family penthouse sits on the 43rd floor of a Tribeca tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame Manhattan like it's a painting they own. Maybe they do. Brett Callaway's real estate empire is worth $500 million, and his children, Marcus and Vanessa, have inherited his ruthlessness along with his portfolio. Grace Holland checks her reflection in the elevator mirror one last time. Her dress is simple, navy blue, empire waist to accommodate her growing belly. Nordstrom rack, not Bergdorf's. Her earrings are her mother's. Cubic zirconia pretending to be diamonds. In her world, that was normal. In the Callaway world, it's a confession of poverty. The elevator doors open. Marcus takes her hand. Remember, dinner's only 2 hours. We smile, we eat, we leave. Your father wants to discuss the baby, Grace says. That's good, right? It means they're accepting me. Marcus doesn't answer. That should have been her first clue. The penthouse smells like old money. Fresh orchids, expensive wine, imported cheese that costs more than Grace's monthly car payment. Vanessa Callaway stands by the bar in a black Dior suit, her hair pulled back so tight it looks painful. She's 38 but looks younger. Money buys good surgeons. Grace, Vanessa says, not moving to hug her. Is that from Zara? How refreshing. Most people try so hard to impress us. Marcus stiffens beside Grace. She squeezes his hand. It's fine. She can handle a little snobbery. She's been handling it for 2 years. Brett Callaway emerges from his study. Silver hair, Rolex that cost more than Grace's nursing school tuition. He shakes Marcus's hand first, then looks at Grace like she's a quarterly report that doesn't add up. Grace, you're glowing. Pregnancy suits you. Thank you, Mr. Callaway. Brett, please. You're family now, or at least you will be once the baby arrives. The phrasing is strange. Grace files it away. The dinner is catered, 3 courses served by silent staff. The conversation is polite, superficial, until it isn't. Marcus could have married the governor's daughter, Brett says, cutting his steak with surgical precision. Wonderful girl, connected family. But love is love, right? Grace feels Marcus tense. Dad, we talked about this. I'm simply saying your wife comes from different circumstances. It's not a judgment, it's a fact. Vanessa swirls her wine. Speaking of circumstances, Grace, have you thought about a post-nuptial agreement? I know you signed a prenup, but given the baby, it might be wise to revisit the terms. Revisit them how, Grace asks. To protect Marcus. Ensure that if things don't work out, the custody arrangements are clear. The baby will be a Callaway. After all, that comes with certain expectations. Grace's stomach turns, not from morning sickness, from the sudden understanding that she's not at a family dinner, she's at a negotiation, and she's the asset being appraised. Excuse me, Grace says, standing. I need to use the restroom. The bathroom is all marble and gold fixtures. Grace runs cold water over her wrists, breathes, She's overreacting. They're just protective. Rich people are careful. It doesn't mean anything. Then she hears voices. The bathroom door didn't close all the way. She freezes. Vanessa's voice, sharp and clear. The prenup protects us when, not if, this ends. Marcus, quieter. She's pregnant with my child. Van, DNA tests can be arranged. We need to be sure. And working class girls have been trapping rich men since the beginning of time. Grace's hand goes to her belly. Protective, instinctive. They think she's lying about the baby. They think she's a con artist. And Marcus isn't defending her. He's silent. She walks back to the dining room on shaking legs, finishes dinner with a smile that hurts her face, says goodnight, lets Marcus drive her home to their Williamsburg loft, the loft his family bought, the furniture his family chose, the life his family controls. Your sister thinks I'm lying about the baby, Grace says in the darkness of their bedroom. Marcus is on his laptop. Work emails. Always work emails. What? No. Vanessa just worries. She's protective of me. She said DNA tests could be arranged. Marcus closes the laptop, finally looks at her. You were eavesdropping. I was using the bathroom. The door was open. Marcus, do you believe this baby is yours? Of course I do. Then why didn't you defend me? Why didn't you tell her to stop? Marcus rubs his face, tired. Always tired lately. Because picking fights with my sister doesn't change anything. She'll come around when the baby's born. Just give it time. But time, Grace is about to learn, is not on her side. 3 days later, Grace is alone in the loft. Marcus is at the office. Again, he's always at the office now. Building the family empire. Making his father proud. Becoming the man Vanessa thinks he should be. Grace tells herself it's normal. Men work hard. Especially men with trust funds and expectations. But there's a difference between working hard and avoiding home. And lately, Marcus has been avoiding home. His laptop sits on the kitchen counter. Open. Password screen showing. Grace shouldn't look. She knows she shouldn't, but her hands move anyway. Types his password, his birthday plus hers. The screen unlocks. She's not even sure what she's looking for. Evidence of affairs. Financial problems. Some explanation for why the man she married feels like a stranger. The email inbox is boring. Work stuff. Real estate deals. Messages from his father about quarterly projections. Then she sees the text messages, synced to his laptop from his phone. A thread with someone saved as S. Grace's fingers tremble as she scrolls. The messages go back months. Back before she was pregnant. Back to when Marcus still looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. I forgot how good we are together. From Marcus. She doesn't suspect anything. From S. She's too trusting. That's her weakness. From Marcus. Grace's vision blurs. She keeps scrolling. Finds a message from 2 weeks ago. Can't wait to have you back in my bed. This pregnancy thing is almost over. The baby kicks, as if reminding Grace that she's not just a wife being betrayed. She's a mother. And her child's father is counting down the days until he can return to his mistress. Grace closes the laptop. Breathes. Think. She needs to think. Confronting him could make it worse. He could gaslight her, say she's being paranoid, hormonal. But staying silent means living a lie. Raising a child with a man who doesn't love her, who never loved her. No, that's not an option. When Marcus comes home that night, Grace is waiting. Laptop open on the table. Who is S? She asks. Marcus stops. Briefcase still in hand, face carefully blank. What are you talking about? Your messages. I read them. Who is S? You went through my laptop. His voice rises, defensive, angry. That's a violation of privacy. Grace, you're having an affair, and I'm the one violating something. Who is she? Marcus. He sets down his briefcase, sighs like she's exhausting him. Her name is Sienna. She works in marketing at our company. It's nothing. Just flirting. You said you can't wait to have her back in your bed. That's taken out of context. What context makes that okay? Marcus runs his hands through his hair. Look, I'm under a lot of pressure. The company, my family, this baby. Sometimes I need to blow off steam. It doesn't mean anything. Grace stands. Her belly makes her movements awkward. Slow, sorry, through. She hates how vulnerable pregnancy makes her. Get out. This is my apartment. Then I'll get out. I'll go to my days. Marcus steps closer. His voice softens. This is the voice he used when they first met, when he convinced her that fairy tales could be real. Babe, you're overreacting. Hormones make everything feel bigger than it is. I love you. I love our baby. Some stupid texts don't change that. Stupid texts that say you can't wait for this pregnancy to be over. I meant the restrictions. You know, no traveling, no late nights. I miss our freedom. That's all. Grace wants to believe him. God, she wants to believe him. But trust is like glass. Once it breaks, you can glue it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. I'm going to my dad's tonight, she says. I need space to think. Fine, but Grace... Marcus waits until she looks at him. Don't make this bigger than it is. Don't ruin what we have over nothing. Over nothing. As if her feelings are nothing. As if his betrayal is nothing. As if she is nothing. Grace packs a bag, drives to her father's house in Queens. Walt Holland lives in the same house where Grace grew up. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, peeling paint. It's worth a tenth of what Marcus spends on watches. But when Walt opens the door and pulls Grace into a hug, she feels richer than she ever did in that Tribeca penthouse. What happened? Walt asks. Grace tells him everything. The text, the Lees, the cold calculation of the Calloway family. Walt listens without interrupting. When she finishes, he makes her chamomile tea and sits across from her at the kitchen table. You know what your mother would say. Walt's voice is rough. He's 62, retired from construction after a back injury. His hands are scarred from 30 years of hard work, hands that never lied to the woman he loved. What would she say? Grace asks. She'd say trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. And once it's gone, you can't get it back. Not really. Walt covers Grace's hand with his. But she'd also say that you're stronger than you know. And whatever you decide, I'm here. Grace sleeps in her childhood bedroom that night, stares at glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. She put them up when she was 8 years old, back when she believed in wishes and happy endings, back before she learned that some men are very good at pretending to be princes. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. I'm sorry, please come home. Let's talk. Grace doesn't respond. She places her phone on the nightstand, and for the first time in 2 years, she lets herself imagine a life without Marcus Calloway. It's terrifying, but maybe terrifying is better than being slowly destroyed by someone who promised to love her. Grace returns to the loft 3 days later, not because she's forgiven Marcus, but because her obstetrician's appointment is near their apartment, and driving from Queens in rush hour traffic while 7 months pregnant sounds like torture. She'll grab clothes, go to the appointment, figure out the rest later. Marcus isn't home. At work. Where else? Grace moves through the loft like a ghost, takes the framed photo of their wedding off the mantel, studies it. They look happy. Were they happy? Or was she just so busy feeling grateful that a Calloway chose her, that she missed all the signs? Her phone rings, the doctor's office, her regular obstetrician is sick. They've rescheduled her to the evening with a covering physician at Mount Sinai. 7 p.m. Grace agrees. It's fine. Evening appointment means Marcus won't insist on coming. Won't sit in the waiting room checking emails while pretending to care. Mount Sinai Hospital at 7 p.m. is quieter than during the day. Grace parks in the garage. Level 3. Takes the elevator down to the main entrance. The hospital smells like antiseptic and fear. Every hospital does. Grace knows. She used to be a nurse before she married Marcus, and he convinced her to quit, to focus on being his wife, starting their family. She'd fought him on it, but eventually gave in. Another crack she didn't see forming. The ultrasound is routine. Baby is healthy. Measuring right on track. Grace watches the screen. Sees her son. She knows he's a boy. Found out 2 weeks ago. Hasn't told Marcus yet. Hasn't decided if she will. Everything looks perfect, the technician says. Strong heartbeat. Good movement. You're doing great. Mom. Mom. The word settles over Grace like a blanket. She's going to be a mother. Whether Marcus is involved or not, this baby deserves the world. Deserves better than parents who barely speak. Better than a father who counts down days to his next affair. Grace leaves the hospital at 8:30 p.m. The parking garage is nearly empty now. Her footsteps echo. She's pressing the elevator button when she hears heels clicking on concrete. Turns. Vanessa Calloway walks toward her. Designer heels, black coat that probably cost $5,000. And next to her, a younger woman, pretty, late 20s, confident walk. Grace knows immediately. This is Sienna. Grace, Vanessa says. Not surprised. Not apologetic. Fancy meeting you here. Are you following me? Grace's heart pounds. Don't be paranoid. Sienna had an appointment. Her gynecologist practices here. We were just leaving. Sienna smiles. It's not friendly. You must be Grace. Marcus has told me so much about you. Grace's hands instinctively cover her belly. Stay away from me. Or what? Sienna steps closer. You'll call Marcus. He's with me 3 nights a week. Sweetheart, he's not going to pick you. That's enough, Grace says. Her voice shakes. She hates that it shakes. She wants to sound strong, fearless. Instead, she sounds like what she is, a pregnant woman backed into a corner by predators. Vanessa watches with cold eyes. You should know. Grace, we've been discussing this situation. The baby complicates things, but complications can be resolved. Are you threatening my child? I'm stating facts. A baby ties you to our family forever. We can't have that. You're not Calloway material. You never were. Grace tries to move it past them toward the elevator. Sienna blocks her path. He never wanted this baby. Grace, I'm giving him an out. We both are. Once you're gone, his life can go back to normal. Let me pass. Make me. It happens fast. Grace tries to step around Sienna. Sienna shoves her. Not hard, just enough to throw off her balance. Grace stumbles backward, toward the concrete pillar. Vanessa's hand appears on. Grace thinks she's catching her. She's wrong. Vanessa pushes. Grace's back hits the pillar. Hard. Then she's falling. Knees hit concrete. Hands scrape. Her belly. Her baby. She has to protect her baby. She lands on her side. Pain explodes through her abdomen. She screams. Or tries to. The sound comes out as a gasp. She looks up. Sees Sienna standing frozen. Vanessa pulls out her phone, starts recording. You attacked us, Vanessa says calmly into the phone's camera. We were walking to our car and you lunged at Sienna. We're defending ourselves. No, Grace whispers. That's not what happened. Sienna, confirm what you saw. Sienna hesitates. Then, she attacked me. I was just standing here and she came at me. Grace tries to stand. Can't. The pain is too intense. She feels wetness between her legs. Blood. God, please don't let it be blood. Help me, please. The baby. Footsteps running. A security guard. Grace recognizes him. He's worked here for years. She used to see him during her nursing shifts. What happened? He asks. Vanessa answers before Grace can. This woman attacked my companion. We need police, and we'll need the security footage as evidence. The guard looks at Grace on the ground, at the blood, at her obvious pregnancy. Ma'am, are you okay? Grace shakes her head. Call my father, please. Walt Holland. His number is in my phone. More footsteps. Voices. Someone calls for a wheelchair. Grace is lifted. Moved. Everything blurs. She hears Vanessa talking to the guard, offering something. The guard nodding. Grace wants to scream that Vanessa is lying, that she's paying him off. But the pain steals her words. The emergency room is bright, too bright. Doctors, nurses, someone asking her pain level. 10. It's a 10. Where's her father? Where's Marcus? She gave them Marcus's number. He should be here. Unless Vanessa called him first. Unless she's poisoning him against Grace before Grace can tell the truth. Grace, Walt's voice cuts through the chaos. He's running. Hospital staff try to slow him down. He ignores them. Reaches Grace's side. Takes her hand. Baby girl, I'm here. I'm here. Dad, they pushed me. Vanessa and Marcus's mistress. They pushed me and then lied. There's security footage. You have to get the footage before they destroy it. Walt's jaw tightens. Don't worry about that now. Just focus on staying calm. On the baby. A doctor approaches. Young, professional, Dr. Claire Bennett. Her badge reads, Miss Holland, we're seeing signs of placental abruption. The impact caused some bleeding. We need to monitor you closely. The baby's heartbeat is strong for now, but the next few hours are critical. Is my baby going to die? Grace asks. Dr. Bennett doesn't give false hope. Grace respects that. We're doing everything we can, but I won't lie to you. The next 24 hours will tell us a lot. Walt squeezes Grace's hand tighter. She's a fighter. The baby's a fighter. They'll both make it. Footsteps in the hallway. Marcus appears. With Vanessa. With a man in an expensive suit. Todd Silverman. The Calloway family lawyer. Grace's stomach sinks. Marcus looks at her. Not with love. Not with concern. With calculation. Grace, what the hell happened? Your sister pushed me. She and your mistress attacked me. Marcus turns to Vanessa. Vanessa's face is a mask of concern. Marcus, she's confused. We saw her in the parking garage. She started yelling. Accused Sienna of sleeping with you. Then she lunged at us. We tried to calm her down, but she lost her balance. It was an accident. A terrible accident. That's a lie. Grace tries to sit up. Pain shoots through her. She pushed me. They both did. Check the security cameras. Todd Silverman steps forward. Mr. Calloway, I'd advise your wife not to make accusations she can't prove. False allegations could complicate things legally. Walt stands, gets in Silverman's face. My daughter is telling the truth, and we will prove it. Marcus holds up his hands. Everyone calm down. Grace, you're upset. You've been through trauma. But accusing my sister of assault, that's insane. I'm not insane. I'm telling the truth. Marcus looks at her like she's a stranger, like she's the problem. My sister called me in tears, said you attacked Sienna, tried to hurt her. That doesn't sound like the Grace I know. And there it is. He believes them. His family, his mistress, everyone except the woman who's carrying his child and bleeding in a hospital bed. Get out, Grace says. Her voice is quiet but steady. Get out of my room. Grace, I'm trying to help you. By calling me crazy, by believing your sister over me. Get out? Marcus exchanges a glance with Vanessa. With the lawyer, they leave. As they walk away, Grace hears Vanessa's voice, calm, satisfied. Problem solved. Grace is in the hospital for 3 days. The bleeding stops. The baby's heartbeat remains strong. Dr. Bennett is cautiously optimistic. Cautiously. That word does a lot of work. It means hope with an asterisk. It means everything might be fine until it's not. Walt never leaves. He sleeps in the chair beside her bed, brings her real food from the deli down the street because hospital food tastes like sadness, makes jokes about the nurses, tells stories about when Grace was little, when her mom was alive, when the world made sense. On the second day, a visitor arrives. Owen Mitchell. Grace doesn't know him. He's tall, early 30s, sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He carries a worn leather messenger bag and introduces himself as a journalist. I've been investigating the Calloway family for 2 years. Owen says. He speaks quietly, respectful of Grace's condition. I have sources that told me about your incident. I'd like to hear your side. Why? Grace asks. Why do you care? Owen sits in the chair Walt vacated to get coffee. Because 5 years ago, Vanessa Calloway destroyed my sister's life. Emily was engaged to a real estate developer, a client of Calloway Properties. When Emily discovered the company was cutting corners on low-income housing projects, she reported it. Within a month, she lost her job. Her reputation was ruined. Rumors spread that she was embezzling. Rumors that Vanessa started. Emily had a breakdown. She's been in assisted living ever since. Grace studies his face, sees the pain there, the anger. You want revenge. I want justice. There's a difference. Revenge is personal. Justice helps everyone they've hurt. And they've hurt a lot of people. Grace, you're just the latest. I don't know if I can help you. They're saying I attacked them. They probably paid off the security guard. My word against theirs won't be enough. That's where you're wrong. Owen pulls a tablet from his bag, shows Grace an email. I have contacts in hospital administration. The security footage from the parking garage was automatically backed up to an off-site server. IT protocol for legal protection. Vanessa tried to have it deleted, but she needed administrator access. She doesn't have it. Yet, Grace feels the first flutter of hope. Real hope, not the cautious kind. You have the video, Sham. Not yet, but I know someone who can preserve it. A lawyer. Her name is Rachel Porter. She's tough, smart, takes cases other lawyers won't touch because she actually believes in right and wrong. Old-fashioned, I know. Can you call her? Owen is already dialing. Rachel Porter arrives that evening. She's 41, black pantsuit, hair in a practical bun, no wedding ring, no nonsense expression. She reviews Grace's medical records, photographs her injuries, listens to her statement without interrupting. Here's what we're going to do, Rachel says. First, I'm filing for an emergency restraining order against Vanessa Calloway and Sienna Cross. That should be granted within 48 hours, given your condition. Second, I'm submitting a preservation request for all security footage from Mount Sinai Hospital. Dated the night of the incident, that footage becomes evidence. They can't touch it without committing a felony. What about Marcus, Grace asks. He's still my husband. He has access to our bank accounts. What if he cuts me off? Let him try. The moment he does, it shows consciousness of guilt. We can use that. Rachel sits on the edge of the bed. Grace, I'm going to be honest with you. The Calloways have money and power. They'll fight dirty. This won't be easy. Nothing about my life has been easy. Rachel smiles. Then you're already tougher than they think. That night, Walt and Grace watch old sitcom reruns on the hospital TV. Grace laughs for the first time in weeks. It feels foreign, like her face forgot how. But it also feels like a rebellion, like proof that Vanessa and Marcus haven't broken her. Not completely. Dad, Grace says during a commercial break, what if I lose? You won't. But what if I do? What if they take the baby? What if I end up with nothing? Walt turns off the TV, looks at his daughter with eyes that have seen too much loss. Grace's mother died of cancer when Grace was 15. Walt raised her alone, worked double shifts, sacrificed everything, and he never once complained. You know what you have that they don't? Walt asks. The truth? And the truth is like water. It finds a way through every crack. They can build walls and hire lawyers and pay off guards. But eventually, the truth seeps through. You just have to be patient. Grace wants to believe him. She's trying to believe him. But patience is hard when your baby's life is at stake. 2 days later, Rachel calls. We got the restraining order. Vanessa and Sienna have to stay at least 200 feet away from you, and the preservation order was granted. The footage is officially evidence. Grace cries. Walt hugs her. Owen, who's become a regular visitor, allows himself a small smile. They're winning. For the first time, they're actually winning. Grace is discharged on day 5, goes home to Walt's house in Queens. The house is small but safe. Marcus doesn't know the address, can't show up demanding to talk, can't stand in the doorway with his sad eyes and empty apologies. That night, Grace sleeps in her childhood bed, hand on her belly, baby kicking, strong kicks, fighter kicks. Walt's right. They're both fighters. For 48 hours, Grace breathes easier, goes to follow up appointments, meets with Rachel to plan the next legal steps, talks to Owen about his investigation, starts to imagine a future where she's free, where her son grows up knowing his mother fought for him. Then Rachel calls. Her voice is tight, controlled. Grace, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The hospital security footage. The IT department is saying the files were corrupted. They're unrecoverable. Grace's hand tightens on the phone. That's impossible. You said it was preserved. It was. But somehow, between the preservation order and now, something happened to the server. The footage is gone. Vanessa. Almost certainly, but I can't prove it. The IT director is claiming it was a technical glitch. Says it happens sometimes with older systems. What does this mean? Rachel is quiet for a moment. It means we lost our smoking gun. Without the video, it's your word against theirs. And they have Sienna as a witness, plus the security guard who, surprise, surprise, just put in his retirement papers and bought a condo in the Bahamas. Grace's world tilts. Just when she thought she was winning, just when she thought justice was possible, the Callaways move the goalposts, buy the referees, change the rules. What do we do now? Grace asks. We fight harder. But Grace, you need to prepare yourself. This just got a lot more difficult. The countersuit arrives 3 days later. Grace is in Walt's kitchen making tea when the process server knocks. She signs for the envelope with shaking hands, waits until he's gone before opening it. Wishes she hadn't. Vanessa Calloway is suing Grace for assault, claiming emotional distress, claiming Grace attacked Sienna in an unprovoked rage, seeking damages of $5 million. $5 million. Grace doesn't have 5,000, but that's not the worst part. There's a second set of papers. From Marcus. Petition for emergency custody. He's arguing that Grace is mentally unstable, presenting evidence of her erratic behavior. The evidence is a collage of half-truths and outright lies. A prescription for antidepressants from 8 years ago when Grace's mother died, presented as proof of ongoing mental illness. A photograph from Grace's Instagram from a year ago, her holding a glass of wine at a friend's wedding, presented as evidence of drinking during pregnancy. A text message to her best friend after a fight with Marcus. I could kill him, presented as a violent threat. Each piece means nothing in context. Together, they paint Grace as unstable, dangerous, unfit to be a mother. Rachel reads through the papers, her jaw tight. This is a coordinated attack. They're trying to overwhelm you, make you give up. Is it working? Grace asks. Because it feels like it's working. Not if we stay focused. Yes, they've created a narrative. But narratives can be dismantled. We'll get character witnesses, your nursing supervisors, friends, your obstetrician who will testify you've been completely sober during pregnancy. What about the security footage? Without it, how do we prove my version? Owen speaks up. He's become a regular fixture in Walt's kitchen. I have contacts at the hospital, people who remember seeing you that night, nurses who noticed you were injured. It's not video, but it's something. The court date is set for 2 weeks out. Judge Diane Mercer presiding. Rachel does research. Mercer is tough, fair, doesn't favor wealth or status. That's good, but she's also a stickler for evidence. Without the video, Grace's case is weak. Grace spends the next days preparing. Rachel coaches her on how to testify. Stay calm. Stick to facts. Don't let them bait you into anger. Anger makes you look unstable, even justified anger. Walt sits through every practice session, asks the hard questions Rachel can't. What if they ask about Marcus's affair? What if they say you're bitter and lying for revenge? Then I tell the truth, Grace says. I found out about the affair. I was hurt, but that doesn't change what Vanessa did to me. Those are separate things. The day before the hearing, Grace gets a call from an unknown number. She almost doesn't answer, but something makes her. Hello, Grace, it's Sienna. The mistress, Marcus's other woman. Grace should hang up. Instead, she listens. I need to talk to you, dog, not on the phone, but in person, and there's something you need to know. Why would I meet with you? Because Vanessa is planning something worse, something that will destroy you completely, and I can't be part of it anymore. They meet at a coffee peep in Brooklyn, neutral territory. Rachel insists on coming, sits at a nearby table watching, ready to intervene if needed. Sienna looks different than she did in the parking garage, smaller somehow, scared. I didn't know it would go this far, she says. When Vanessa asked me to go to the hospital that night, she said we were just going to talk to you. Reason with you? I swear I didn't know she'd push you. But you lied afterward. You said I attacked you. Sienna looks at her coffee. Vanessa said if I didn't back her up, she'd destroy me. She'd tell Marcus I initiated the affair, that I seduced him. I'd lose my job, my reputation, everything. I was scared. I was bleeding on the floor, pregnant, and you lied to protect yourself. I know. I know it was wrong. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I see you on the ground. I'm sorry. Grace. I'm so sorry. Grace wants to hate her. should hate her. But looking at Sienna, she sees someone else Vanessa has terrorized, someone else caught in the web. What's Vanessa planning? She's going to bring up your father's finances, show that he's in debt, medical bills from his back injury, mortgage behind by 3 months. She'll argue that you married Marcus for money, that you got pregnant on purpose to trap him, and that when it wasn't working, you staged the parking garage incident for a lawsuit payout. Grace's blood goes cold. My father's debts are none of her business. She's made them her business. She hired an investigator, has bank statements, medical records, everything. Rachel joins them at the table. That's illegal. Medical records are protected. Not if you know the right people to pay, Sienna says. The Callaways don't play by rules. They buy new ones. Will you testify to what really happened? Rachel asks. Will you tell the truth in court? Sienna goes pale. If I do, Vanessa will destroy me. She's destroying Grace right now. An innocent woman, a pregnant woman you helped assault. Sienna stands. I'm sorry again. I can't. I came here to warn you, but I can't testify. I'm not as brave as you, Grace. She leaves. Grace watches her go, feels the last piece of hope crumble. Without Sienna's testimony, without the video, without anything but her word against a billionaire family, she's going to lose. Lose her son. Lose everything. That night, Grace stands in front of the mirror, 7.5 months pregnant, bruises fading from yellow to green on her arms. She looks tired, scared, defeated. Walt appears into the doorway. You thinking about giving up? I'm thinking about being realistic. They have money, lawyers, evidence. What do I have? Me, Rachel, Owen, and more importantly, you have the truth. That's got to count for something. Grace wishes she believed him, but she's learning that the truth only counts if people are willing to listen. And in a world where money talks, truth whispers, and whispers get drowned out. The court hearing is tomorrow. Grace goes to bed knowing that everything, her future, her son, her dignity, hangs on what happens in that courtroom. And for the first time, she's not sure bravery is enough. The courtroom is smaller than Grace expected. Wood paneling, high ceilings, American flag in the corner. Judge Diane Mercer sits at the bench, 55, gray hair, reading glasses. She looks like someone who's seen every trick in the book and isn't impressed by any of them. Grace sits at the plaintiff's table with Rachel. Across the aisle, Marcus sits with Vanessa and Todd Silverman, plus 2 more lawyers. The Callaways brought a legal army. Grace has Rachel. The symbolism isn't lost on anyone. Judge Mercer reviews the files. This is a petition for emergency custody pending divorce proceedings. Correct, Todd Silverman stands. Yes, Your Honor, my client, Marcus Callaway, is seeking temporary custody of his unborn child due to concerns about the mother's mental stability and fitness. And the mother disputes these claims. Rachel stands vehemently. Your Honor, Miss Holland is a victim of assault by the petitioner's family. She's being attacked in court because she dared to defend herself. I'll hear from both sides, Mr. Silverman. Present your evidence. What follows is an assassination. That's the only word for it. Silverman presents the antidepressant prescription, the Instagram photo, the threatening text, Grace's nursing school grades, which were good, but not perfect, an interview with a former coworker who says Grace had a temper, context removed, truth weaponized. Then Vanessa takes the stand, perfectly composed, hair pulled back, simple navy suit, looking like a woman who just wants what's best for her family. I love my brother, Vanessa says, and I was thrilled when he told me about the baby, but over the past few months, Grace has become erratic, paranoid. She accused me of trying to steal the baby, accused my brother of having an affair with no proof. The night of the incident, she approached us in the parking garage, started screaming accusations. When my companion tried to calm her, Grace lunged. We were defending ourselves. Rachel cross-examines. Miss Callaway, isn't it true that you offered to pay the hospital IT director to delete security footage? Absolutely not. That's a slanderous accusation. Isn't it true that the IT director retired days after the footage disappeared and bought property in the Bahamas? What he does with his retirement savings is his business. Isn't it true you've used your family's wealth to intimidate and silence people before him? Silverman objects. Relevance. Your Honor. Sustained, Miss Porter. Stick to the current case. Rachel tries. She really does. Presents Grace's medical records showing no alcohol or drugs during pregnancy. Calls Owen Mitchell, who testifies about the suspicious timing of the footage corruption. Calls Walt, who swears Grace is stable and loving. But it's not enough. Grace can see it in Judge Mercer's face. The judge is skeptical. Without hard evidence, without the video, it's he said, she said, and the he side has better lawyers. The hearing runs 6 hours. By the end, Grace is exhausted, stressed. Her back aches, her stomach cramps. She tells herself it's normal. She's sitting for too long. She just needs to rest. Judge Mercer announces she'll issue a decision within 48 hours. Court is adjourned. Grace stands to leave. The cramping gets worse. Sharp, insistent. She grabs the table. Rachel notices. Grace, are you okay? I don't know. Something's wrong. The pain intensifies. Grace gasps, feels wetness, looks down, blood soaking through her dress, pooling on the courtroom floor. Someone screams. Maybe it's Grace. Maybe it's someone else. Everything blurs. Walt is beside her. Call an ambulance. My daughter needs help. Marcus stands frozen. Vanessa whispers something to her lawyer. No one from the Calloway side moves to help. They watch, like Grace is a problem solving itself. The ambulance arrives. Paramedics load Grace onto a stretcher. Walt climbs in beside her. Rachel follows in her car. The hospital, Mount Sinai again, is a nightmare of bright lights and urgent voices. Dr. Bennett is on duty. She examines Grace, checks the baby's heartbeat. Her face goes carefully neutral. The face doctors make when the news is bad, but they're trying not to scare you yet. Miss Holland, I need you to stay as calm as possible. We're seeing signs of placental abruption. The stress of today may have triggered it. We're going to do everything we can. But everything we can isn't enough. 3 hours later, Dr. Bennett returns. Her eyes are red. She sits beside Grace's bed, takes her hand. I'm so sorry the baby's heart stopped. We tried to resuscitate, but the damage from the abruption was too severe. Your son didn't make it. The words don't make sense. Grace hears them, but they won't translate into meaning. Her son, her fighter. The baby who kicked every morning to say good morning. He can't be gone. He was just here, just moving, just alive. No, Grace says. Check again. Maybe you made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Bennett repeats. We did everything possible. Walt is crying, silent tears down his weathered face. Rachel stands in the corner, professional mask cracking. Owen, who somehow heard and came, looks at the floor. Grace doesn't cry, can't cry. The pain is too big for tears. It's not grief. Grief is too small a word. It's obliteration. The complete destruction of every hope and dream and future she'd imagined. They induce labor. Grace delivers her son at 11:42. He's tiny, perfect, beautiful, and not breathing. The nurses clean him, wrap him in a blue blanket, place him in Grace's arms. She holds him for 20 minutes, memorizes his face, his tiny nose, his fingers. Then they take him away. When Marcus arrives at the hospital, Grace is alone in her room, sitting in the dark, staring at nothing. Grace, Marcus says from the doorway, I'm so sorry, our son. I can't believe he's gone. Grace looks at him. This man she married, this man she loved, this man whose family pushed her and then sued her and stressed her into losing their child. Get out, she says. Grace, we need to talk about what happens next. Get out of my room. I know you're grieving, but my lawyer says we need to discuss the custody petition. Since there's no baby, we can withdraw it. Make this easier on both of us. Grace stands. Pain shoots through her body. She doesn't care. You want to make this easier. Our son is dead. Your sister killed him. The stress, the lawsuit, the lies. She killed him and you helped her. That's not fair. The doctors said it was placental abruption, a medical complication. Caused by stress, caused by being attacked, and then dragged through court and called crazy. Get out, Marcus. If I ever see you again, I don't know what I'll do. Marcus leaves. In the hallway, Grace hears Vanessa's voice. Quiet, but not quiet enough. Problem solved. Those two words. So casual, so dismissive. Problem solved. Grace's son is dead and Vanessa considers it a solution. Not a tragedy, not a loss, a problem solved. Something breaks in Grace, or maybe something hardens. She lies back into the hospital bed, stares at the ceiling, and makes a decision. She will not let this destroy her. She will not let them win. Her son deserves justice, and Grace will get it, no matter what it takes. Because grief can do two things. It can break you or it can forge you into something stronger, sharper, unbreakable. And Grace chooses the latter. Grace leaves the hospital 2 days later. There's no baby to bring home. Just discharge papers and a grief counseling pamphlet and a memory box with her son's tiny footprints. She names him Finn Walter Holland. Her father's name is a middle. A reminder that good men exist even if Grace married the wrong one. The funeral is small. Just Grace, Walt, Rachel, and Owen. Grace doesn't tell Marcus. Doesn't want him there. Doesn't want his fake tears and empty condolences. Finn is buried in the same cemetery as Grace's mother. At least now she's not alone. Grace moves through the next weeks like a ghost. Exists but doesn't live. Gets out of bed because Walt makes her. Eats because Rachel brings food. Showers because Owen gently suggests she might feel better after. She doesn't feel better. Doesn't think she'll ever feel better. But she does get angry. And anger, it turns out, is useful. Anger gets her out of bed, gets her calling Rachel, asking about next steps. The Callaways think they've won, think Grace will crawl away and disappear. They're wrong. Owen's article publishes 6 weeks after Finn's death. The Callaway Empire power, money, and convenient tragedies. It's thorough, damning. Details. Vanessa's pattern of destroying anyone who threatens the family. Names names, provides documentation. The article goes viral, shared across social media, picked up by major outlets. For the first time, the Callaways are on defense. Then Grace wakes up to police at her door. Grace Holland, you're under arrest for attempted murder. Grace blinks. What? Who did I try to murder? Vanessa Callaway. Someone sent poisoned coffee to her office yesterday. Your fingerprints were on the cup. You'll need to come with us. Grace is numb as they read her Miranda rights. Handcuff her. Lead her to the police car. Walt is shouting. Rachel is on her phone calling judges. Neighbors watch from porches. Grace sits in the back seat and feels the universe confirming what she already knew. She can't win. The game is rigged. At the station, detectives show her the evidence. A coffee cup delivered to Vanessa's office, poisoned with antifreeze. Vanessa didn't drink it. Her assistant did. The assistant is in the hospital. Critical condition. Fingerprints on the cup match Grace's. Security footage shows a woman in Grace's jacket delivering it. Grace's credit card was used at the coffee shop. Her Uber account shows a trip to Vanessa's building. A text from Grace's phone. You took everything, now you'll pay. I didn't do any of that, Grace says. I was home, my father can confirm it. Family alibis aren't reliable, the detective says. You had motive. Your baby died because of stress from the Callaway lawsuit. You blamed Vanessa. Wanted revenge. I wanted justice, not revenge. There's a difference, because from where I'm sitting, attempted murder sounds like revenge. Grace is booked, photographed, fingerprinted, thrown in a holding cell with 3 other women. One is coming down from meth. One is there for prostitution. One won't stop crying. Grace sits on the metal bench and stares at nothing. Bail is set at $2 million. Grace doesn't have $200. Walt offers to mortgage his house. Rachel says it won't be enough. The judge sees Grace as a flight risk. Dangerous. A woman who lost her mind and tried to poison the person she blames. Grace spends 3 days in jail before Rachel manages to pull strings, gets a bail reduction hearing, presents evidence that Grace was home when the coffee was delivered, that someone is clearly framing her. The judge reduces bail to $500,000. Still impossible, but less impossible. Owen uses his connections to crowdfund. Raises 50,000 in 2 days. Walt sells everything that isn't nailed down. Rachel waives her fees. Together, they scrape together enough to post bail. Grace is released on day 7. She's thinner, paler, haunted, but not broken. Not anymore. Someone cloned my digital footprint, Grace says in Walt's living room. Rachel, Owen, and Walt gather it around. Used my credit card information. Hacked my Uber account. Sent a text from a spoofed number. This is professional. Owen pulls up his laptop. I've been digging. The coffee shop has their own security footage. I paid the owner to let me see it. Look, the footage shows a woman in Grace's jacket. Same height, same hair color. But the walk is different. The gait, the way she carries herself. Owen plays it in slow motion. This isn't you, Owen says. Any forensic analyst can confirm it. Different stride length, different weight distribution. Rachel takes notes. We can use this. Get an expert witness. Someone from the FBI if possible. I know someone, Owen says. Retired agent who specializes in gait analysis. Owes me a favor. While they work on the criminal defense, Grace focuses on staying sane, goes to therapy, talks about Finn, about her marriage, about how she ignored red flags because she wanted the fairy tale to be real. The therapist says Grace is experiencing complex trauma, says healing isn't linear. Some days will be better than others. Most days are worse. Then Walt collapses. Grace is making breakfast when she hears the thud, runs to the living room, finds her father on the floor, clutching his chest, face gray. She calls 911, performs CPR until the ambulance arrives, rides with him to the hospital. Dr. Bennett is there again. She looks at Grace with such pity it hurts. Your father had a massive heart attack. The stress of everything, your situation, the financial strain, his heart couldn't take it. Is he going to die? The next 48 hours are critical. We've stabilized him for now, but his heart is very damaged. Grace sits beside Walt's hospital bed, holds his hand. He's unconscious, ventilator breathing for him. This man who sacrificed everything for her, who never once said he regretted being her father even though her choices brought nothing but pain to his door. I'm sorry, Dad, Grace whispers. I'm so sorry. When she gets home that night, there's a message on her phone, from an unknown number. Stop the investigations. Drop the charges. Or your father's next heart attack will be his last. We can make it look natural. Consider this your final warning. Grace plays the message for Rachel, for Owen. They trace the number. Burner phone. Untraceable. But they all know who sent it. Know what it means. The Callaways are done playing fair. They're willing to kill Walt to make Grace stop. What do I do? Grace asks. She's so tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of losing. If I keep going, they'll kill my father. If I stop, they win. Either way, I lose. Rachel looks at her file, at months of work. It's your decision. Grace, I'll support whatever you choose. Owen closes his laptop. So will I. Grace thinks about Finn, about the tiny weight of him in her arms, about his perfect face, about justice deferred being justice denied. Thinks about Walt in that hospital bed, the only family she has left. Then she thinks about Vanessa's voice. Problem solved. We keep going, Grace says. We fight harder. We win. Because if we stop now, Finn died for nothing. And I won't let that be true. Rachel smiles. Then we need a new strategy. One they won't see coming. Owen nods. I think I know where to start. Walt survives the heart attack. Barely. Spends a week in ICU before being moved to a regular room. The doctors say he needs rest. No stress. Grace doesn't tell him about the threatening message. Doesn't tell him about the new plan. Just sits with him. Reads him the sports section. Pretends everything will be okay. The plan comes together slowly. Owen discovers something in his years of investigating the Callaways. 3 other women who were involved with Marcus before Grace. Women who disappeared from his life suddenly and completely. One is in a psychiatric facility. One fled to Europe. One is dead. Ruled a suicide, but the family suspected foul play. This is a pattern, Owen says. Vanessa eliminates threats to Marcus's inheritance. Women who might claim a piece of the family fortune, who might have claims on his assets. Grace, you weren't the first. You're just the one who fought back. Rachel files a motion to include this history in Grace's defense. Pattern evidence, showing that Vanessa has done this before. That framing Grace fits a decades-long strategy. The judge allows it, barely, but it's enough to create reasonable doubt. Meanwhile, Grace makes a decision that surprises everyone. She contacts Sienna. They meet at a diner in Queens. Sienna looks worse than Grace remembers. Thinner, dark circles under her eyes. Shaking hands. "Why did you want to see me?" Sienna asks. Grace slides a folder across the table. "These are the 3 women I mentioned, the ones Vanessa destroyed. Look at the last one. Her name was Catherine. She was engaged to Marcus 7 years ago. 3 months after they got engaged, she was found dead. Overdose. Except Catherine was sober. Had been for 5 years. Worked in recovery counseling. Her family never believed she relapsed." Sienna opens the folder. Reads. Goes pale. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you're pregnant." Grace saw it in Sienna's face the moment they sat down. "And I'm guessing Marcus doesn't know yet. Sienna, you think you're safe because you helped Vanessa. You're not. You're next on her list. The moment that baby is born, she'll eliminate you too. Maybe frame you for something. Maybe worse. But you won't survive being Marcus's baby mama. Vanessa won't allow it." Sienna's hand goes to her stomach. Protective. Instinctive. The same way Grace used to touch Finn. "She wouldn't hurt me. I did what she asked. And Catherine did what she asked. And the woman in the psych ward did what she asked. And look what happened to them." Grace leans forward. "I'm not asking you to help me for my sake. I'm asking you to help yourself. Help your baby. Because right now, you're in more danger than I am." Sienna is quiet for a long time, staring at Catherine's photo, at the police report, at the toxicology results that didn't match a relapse. "What do you want me to do? Wear a wire to get Vanessa to admit what she did? To me, to Catherine, to anyone. Give us evidence we can use. She'll kill me if she finds out. She'll kill you anyway. This way, you at least have a chance." It takes 2 more meetings before Sienna agrees. Rachel arranges everything. A wire so small it's invisible. A recording device in Sienna's purse. A plan for Sienna to meet Vanessa and steer the conversation toward Grace. Toward the parking garage. Toward the frame-up. The meeting happens at Vanessa's penthouse. Sienna is terrified. Grace watches from a van parked outside. Owen monitoring the audio. Rachel ready to call police if anything goes wrong. Sienna starts carefully. "I've been thinking about Grace. About what happened." Vanessa pours wine. Doesn't offer any to Sienna. "Why think about her? She's finished. I just feel guilty sometimes. The parking garage. She fell so hard. She attacked us. We defended ourselves. But Vanessa, I saw you push her. I know what really happened." Vanessa's voice goes cold. "What really happened is exactly what I say happened. Are you questioning me?" Sienna. "No, I'm pregnant. Did you know that it's Marcus's baby? And I keep thinking about Grace losing her baby. About whether the stress, the lawsuit, if that's what caused it. The weak don't survive. That's nature. Grace was always going to fail. Women like her. They think they can marry up and suddenly belong. But breeding shows. She was working-class trash pretending to be something she wasn't. So you wanted her gone. I wanted her neutralized. The baby complicated things. But complications can be resolved. There it is. The same phrase she used in the hospital. Problem solved. Complications resolved. Vanessa admitting she saw Finn as an obstacle. Honestly, the miscarriage saved us millions in the eventual divorce. Marcus would have been stuck paying child support, dealing with custody battles. This way it's clean. And the attempted murder charge, the poisoned coffee. Vanessa laughs. Please, as if Grace could pull that off. Though I admit I'm impressed with how well it's working. The police believed it immediately. Rich white woman accuses poor woman of trying to kill her. They don't even question it. So Grace didn't do it. Of course not. But she'll go to prison for it. And when she does, this all goes away. No more articles. No more investigations. No more threats to the family. Vanessa studies Sienna. You're awfully curious today. Why? Sienna's voice shakes. I just wanted to understand, to know what really happened. What really happened is that I protected my family. Like I always do. Like I'll keep doing, no matter who gets in the way. Vanessa sets down her wine glass, steps closer to Sienna. Are you planning to get in the way, Sienna? Are you planning to be a problem? No, no, of course not. Good, because you're carrying Marcus's child. That makes you family, as long as you remember where your loyalties lie. The conversation shifts. Sienna makes excuses to leave, gets in her car, drives 3 blocks before pulling over and vomiting on the side of the road. Grace finds her there, sits with her while she shakes. I got it, Sienna says. She admitted everything. Rachel has the recording transcribed immediately, files it with the court. The next morning, detectives arrive at Vanessa's penthouse, arrest her, charge her with conspiracy to commit assault, obstruction of justice, intimidation of a witness, attempted murder in the coffee poisoning. The charges pile up. Marcus is implicated too. Text messages between him and Vanessa show he knew about the plan to delete the security footage, knew about the frame-up, did nothing. In New York, that makes him an accessory. The Callaway empire starts to crumble. Investors pull out. Partners distance themselves. The board of directors calls emergency meetings. Brett Callaway, the patriarch, suddenly develops health problems and retires. Distances himself from his children. Saves himself. Grace watches it all from Walt's hospital room. Her father is improving. Off the ventilator. Breathing on his own. When he's strong enough to talk, Grace tells him everything. We're winning, Dad. For real this time. Walt smiles, tired but proud. You never gave up. Your mother would be so proud of you. I almost did give up, so many times. But then I'd think about Finn, about what kind of world I want for kids like him. And I kept going. The final hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks out. Grace uses that time to heal, to prepare, to find some version of herself that isn't just grief and rage. She visits Finn's grave, tells him about the trial, about justice coming, hopes somehow he can hear her. Owen's article series wins a journalism award. Rachel is flooded with clients, women who saw Grace's story and found the courage to tell theirs. Walt goes home from the hospital, weak but alive, grateful for every breath. And Grace realizes something. She's not the same woman who walked into that parking garage 7 months ago. That woman was naive, trusting, believed love conquered all. This woman knows better, knows love isn't enough without respect, without honesty, without basic human decency. This woman is stronger, scarred but stronger, and she's ready to face Marcus and Vanessa one last time. The courtroom is packed. Owen's articles made Grace's case national news. Cameras line the steps outside. Reporters shout questions. Grace walks past them all, head high. Rachel on one side, Walt on the other. She's not afraid anymore. Fear is a luxury she can't afford. Judge Mercer bangs her gavel. Order! This court will come to order. The charges are read. Vanessa Callaway stands accused of assault, conspiracy, obstruction. Marcus Callaway is named as an accessory. Their lawyers, 6 of them now, look concerned for the first time. Money can buy lawyers, but it can't buy away audio recordings. Rachel presents the wire recording. The courtroom listens in silence to Vanessa's voice. The miscarriage saved us millions. Complications can be resolved. Grace will go to prison for it. Every word a nail in Vanessa's coffin. When the recording ends, you could hear a pin drop. Vanessa's lawyer tries to object. Your Honor, this recording was obtained under false pretenses. Miss Cross was acting as an agent of the plaintiff. It should be inadmissible. Miss Cross was acting to protect herself, Rachel counters. And the recording only captured Miss Callaway's voluntary statements. No coercion was used. It's perfectly admissible under New York law. Judge Mercer reviews the legal precedents. I'll allow it. Continue, Miss Porter. Rachel calls Sienna to the stand. Sienna is visibly pregnant now. 4 months along. She looks terrified but determined. Miss Cross, can you tell the court what happened the night of October 15th in the hospital parking garage? Sienna takes a breath. Vanessa asked me to come with her to Mount Sinai, said we were going to talk to Grace, but when we got there, Vanessa started confronting her, saying cruel things. Grace tried to leave. Vanessa pushed her. She fell, hit the concrete pillar. I saw blood. I froze. What happened next? Vanessa told me to film her telling a different version, said Grace attacked us, that we were defending ourselves. She told me if I didn't back her up, she'd destroy me. I was scared. I lied. I'm so sorry, Grace. I lied and your baby died, and I'll never forgive myself. Plus, Sienna breaks down crying. The jury watches. Uncomfortable. Moved. Human. Marcus takes the stand next. He looks like he's aged 10 years. Gray at the temples. Lines around his eyes. The weight of guilt is heavy. Mr. Calloway, did you know your sister planned to confront your wife that night? Yes. Did you try to stop her? Marcus looks at his hands. No. Did you know your sister bribed hospital staff to delete security footage? I suspected. When the footage disappeared, I knew, but I didn't report it. Why not Vaimokta? Because she's my sister. Because I thought protecting family was more important than the truth. I was wrong. I know that now. But I was wrong for a long time. Did you love your wife? Marcus looks at Grace. Really looks at her. I thought I did. But I don't think I knew what love was. Love doesn't stand by while your family destroys someone. Love doesn't choose sides when one side is clearly wrong. I failed Grace. I failed our son. And I'll live with that for the rest of my life. It's not enough. Words will never be enough. But it's something. An admission. An apology. A recognition of guilt. Vanessa refuses to testify. Sits at the defense table. Arms crossed. Defiant even now. Her lawyers argue reasonable doubt. Argue that Sienna is lying to save herself. Argue that the recording is taken out of context. The jury doesn't buy it. 3 hours of deliberation. They return with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. Vanessa's face goes white. Marcus drops his head into his hands. The courtroom erupts. Judge Mercer bangs her gavel. Order, I will have order. Sentencing is scheduled for 2 weeks out. But everyone knows what's coming. Vanessa faces 10 to 15 years. Marcus as an accessory will get less. Maybe 5 years with good behavior. But their reputations are destroyed. The family empire is in shambles. Calloway Properties is under federal investigation. Partners are fleeing. Buildings are being sold. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Grace stops at the microphones. Rachel starts to pull her away, but Grace shakes her head. She has something to say. My name is Grace Holland. 7 months ago, I was assaulted by Vanessa Calloway. I was pregnant. I was scared. And I was almost silenced by money and power and a system that protects the wealthy. But I didn't stay silent. And today, justice was served. A reporter shouts a question. What do you want people to take away from your story? Grace thinks about Finn, about Walt, about every woman who's been hurt by someone more powerful and told her pain doesn't matter. I want people to know that you don't have to be rich to deserve justice. You don't have to be powerful to deserve dignity. And you don't have to be perfect to deserve to be believed. The truth matters. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to keep telling it, people will listen. Another question. Do you forgive your husband? Grace looks back at the courthouse, at Marcus being led away by his lawyers. I don't know if I forgive him, but I don't hate him anymore. Hate takes energy I don't have. I'm focusing on healing, on moving forward, on making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else. What's next for you? Grace smiles. Small but real. I'm starting a foundation, in my son's name, to help women fight back against powerful people who hurt them, to provide legal support, counseling, whatever they need, because no woman should have to face what I faced alone. The reporters scribble notes, cameras flash, and Grace walks away, past them all, toward Walt's car, toward her father, toward the beginning of whatever comes next. 6 months later, Grace stands in the doorway of a small office in Brooklyn. The sign on the door reads, Finn's Hope Foundation. Inside, 3 desks, 2 counselors, 1 lawyer on staff part-time. It's not much, but it's a start. Owen helps set it up. Rachel serves on the board. Walt handles the books, insisting on being useful. The phone rings constantly. Women calling, some crying, some angry, all scared, all needing help. Grace takes every call herself because she remembers what it felt like when no one believed her. Sienna had her baby, a girl named Hope. Sends Grace updates sometimes. Photos of a healthy, happy child. Sienna is in witness protection. But she's safe. She's free. Her daughter will grow up knowing her mother was brave. Marcus serves his sentence upstate. He writes letters. Grace doesn't open them. Maybe someday. But not yet. Some wounds need time. Vanessa is in maximum security. No letters from her. No apologies. Grace doesn't expect any. Some people are incapable of remorse. Brett Calloway had a stroke. Lives in a nursing home now. The empire he built is gone. The Calloway name is mud in New York real estate. Grace visits Finn's grave every Sunday. Brings flowers. Tells him about the foundation. About the women they're helping. She likes to think he's proud. That his short life meant something. Walt's health has stabilized. He volunteers 3 days a week. Answers phones. Files paperwork. He's 63 now, but lighter somehow. Like the weight of worry has lifted. Owen stops by on a Tuesday afternoon. Brings coffee. How's business? Booming. I wish it wasn't. I wish we didn't need to exist. But we do. You're making a difference, Grace. She looks around the small office. At the files on the desks. Each one a person, a story, a fight. No, it's not nothing. That night, Grace locks up, drives home to Walt's house. Small kitchen, creaky floors, but it's safe. It's warm, and it's hers. They eat dinner watching Jeopardy. Walt yells answers at the TV, gets most of them right. After dinner, Grace checks the foundation email. 23 new messages. Most are thank yous. A few are requests for help. One makes her breath catch. My name is Jennifer. I'm married to a powerful man. He's abusing me. I'm pregnant. I'm scared. I saw your interview and thought maybe you could help. Please, I don't know where else to turn. Grace reads it 3 times. Feels the familiar ache, the weight of responsibility. She can't save everyone, but she can help this woman. Grace types her response. Jennifer, thank you for reaching out. You are incredibly brave. Here is what we're going to do. She outlines safety planning, legal options, shelter information, resources. Hope. She hits send. Walt pokes his head in. You working late again? Just answered one more email. You can't save the world, kiddo. Grace smiles. No, but I can save one person, and one person can become 2. Eventually, maybe we change something. Walt kisses her forehead. Your mother would be so proud. I'm so proud. After he leaves, Grace looks at Finn's ultrasound picture on her desk, the only photo she has of him alive. She traces his profile. We're doing it, she whispers. We're making sure you didn't die for nothing. The phone rings. Grace answers. Finn's Hope Foundation. This is Grace. Well, a woman's voice, shaking, scared. My husband's family is trying to take my baby. They have lawyers and money and I have nothing. Grace grabs a pen, opens a new file. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. As the woman talks, Grace realizes something. She's not the same person who walked into that hospital 7 months pregnant and naive. That woman is gone. This woman is someone new. Someone forged in grief and rage and determination. Someone who knows the world isn't fair but refuses to accept that as an excuse. Someone who turns pain into purpose. The conversation goes on for an hour. By the end, the woman is crying from relief. Because someone listened. Someone believed her. Someone is willing to fight beside her. Grace hangs up, looks out the window. The Queen's skyline isn't as impressive as Manhattan's. Just houses and streetlights, and normal people living normal lives. And for the first time in a long time, Grace is grateful for normal. She climbs into bed in her childhood room with its glow-in-the-dark stars, and she sleeps. The nightmares still come, but she sleeps knowing tomorrow she'll wake up and fight again, help someone else, make the world incrementally better. Because that's what survivors do. They survive, then they help others survive. And slowly, person by person, story by story, they change the narrative. Grace Holland didn't get her fairy tale ending, didn't get her baby, or her marriage, or her happily ever after, But she got something better. She got purpose. She got strength. She got the knowledge that she can fall and get back up, can be broken and heal, can lose everything and still build something beautiful. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's everything. Grace Holland lost everything, her baby, her marriage, her illusions. But she gained something the Callaways could never destroy, her voice. And that changed everything. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that real stories matter. Drop a comment. Could you have kept fighting? I read every single one. Share this with someone battling their own Goliath. You never know who needs the reminder they're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when the system says they can't. Remember Grace's lesson: you're stronger than you think, braver than you know, and never alone in the fight. See you next time.